YouTubers, this is NightCreep484, and this is my ranking of George A. Romero's Dead franchise, including the remakes, and also including this piece of garbage, Day of the Dead 2 Contagion. Right, so we'll start off with number 11, Day of the Dead 2 Contagion, which is a piece of garbage. It's no good. This film is not a sequel to the 2008 remake, or reimagining, whatever you want to call it, of Day of the Dead. It's not a sequel to that. It's not a sequel to George Romero's original Day of the Dead. It's just a cheat. It's just a theft. It has the same lettering as Day of the Dead, the original look. I don't know, maybe the filmmakers bought the title. I haven't got a clue, but this movie is complete garbage. No relation to either movie. Alright, what's up next? At number 10 is Night of the Living Dead 2006, which I don't think anybody even remembers. It's that bad. It was that rubbish. Sid Haig is in this movie. Avoid it at all costs. A few years ago, maybe about 5-6 years ago, along came a prequel to this film, which is even 10 times worse than this. Just avoid this movie. This is garbage. At number 9 is the Day of the Dead remake. I don't have it. I gave it to a charity store. It was garbage. Some people say it's a blast. I disagree. Some people say it really is a lot of fun. No. Zombies running and crawling up... crawling across ceilings and running up walls. We've got a vegetarian zombie in here who's in love with Mina Savari. It's garbage. Okay, so at number 8 is Survival of the Dead, and I don't have Survival of the Dead. I only downloaded it, but I will pick it up at some point for completism. It's not that good. It has bad CGI. The story isn't that good either. It's not that good. At number 7 is Night of the Living Dead 1968, and this original, which is considered the granddaddy of all zombie films. I am not the biggest fan of this movie. Not to say it's bad, it's a good film. I'm just not a fan of zombie movies that take place 90% of the film inside a house, when all the zombies are outside and all that sort of stuff. I like my zombie movies on a much bigger scale. Okay, so at number 6 is the Tom Savini remake from 1990, Night of the Living Dead. I like it more than the original because maybe it's more modernized. It's in color, and I'm still not the biggest fan of this movie either. Again, it takes place inside a house, and a lot of the things that happen in this movie happen in the original. It's like a love letter to the original film, which I like remakes that are the same, kind of. But since I'm not a big fan of the original at all, I'm not the biggest fan of this one either. Still a good movie. At number 5 is Diary of the Dead. Not one of the best found footage horror movies. It is what it is. It's okay. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but you know, Romero went back to making lower budget zombie films because on Land of the Dead he didn't have as much freedom to make the movie the way he exactly wanted to make it in order to get the big budget. Okay, so at number 4 is Land of the Dead. Now, at first when I went to see this film and when I bought this DVD, I wasn't a big fan of this movie. I thought the whole smart zombie thing was dumb. I've gotten over that a bit. It's funny how, like, you know, we've got this gas station owner who seems to be the smartest zombie of all the zombies, and he seems to have his own little bunch of zombies which he can, by grunting at them and going, he can teach them how to use machetes and how to use machine guns and all that. I find that a little kind of... it's a little funny, but, you know, it's kind of like not very well written. I mean, those scenes, but Another problem is, I wish this movie was 2 hours long, because it goes by at such a fast pace, and it's over before you know where it is. It feels like it's the sort of a movie that needs to be an extra half hour long. I wish it was slower paced, but George Romero had to make this a kind of a fast paced film, because what he had was, he had the powers that be at Universal breathing down his throat. In order to get the big budget, he had to make sacrifices to make this movie. So a lot of people crap on this. I understand why. I do like it. At number 3 is the 2004 version of Dawn of the Dead. It's a remake by name only. It really has nothing to do with the original, except for we have a kind of CGI helicopter at the start of it, which is similar to the original. We also have cameos on the TV screen, on the news, on TV, with Ken Foray, Scott H. Reiniger, Tom Savini, and we've got a store called Galen Ross. So there is some nice homages or throwbacks to the original, but it's nothing like the original at all. My main problem with this is that it's a good film, but my main problem is it's really intense at the beginning, where Sarah Polly's boyfriend or husband or whatever gets bitten by this little girl zombie, and he goes apeshit, and it's really intense, and he chases her into the bathroom, and she locks the door, and she jumps out the window, and he goes after her, and he runs out the front door, and that's the most intense scene of the whole movie. It needed to have loads of intense scenes like that, and it never did. It's like all the bad guys in this movie, apart from Jake Weber, who's a good guy, all the bad guys seem to get their comeuppance. But we needed to have some characters in this movie that are good guys, and they don't deserve to die, and they should die, because that's what Romero would do. It takes place in a much smaller mall than the original. It's not as good as the original. The original is a classic, but this is a fun popcorn remake by name only, I suppose. I don't like to call it a direct remake, because it's not a direct remake. Right, so at number 2 is George A. Romero's Day of the Dead. Needs no introduction. Very atmospheric, kind of gloomy, sort of end of the world. Zombies have completely taken over. There's very few people left. There's a group of scientists assisting the military. They're underground for 90% of the film. But this movie is just brilliant. It has the best looking zombies. It has one of the best casts in a horror movie in the 80s. Dr. Logan, Dr. Logan. You got Bub. You got Laurie Cardile, who's the lead. You've got Jarlath Conroy, who's the Irish drunk. You've got the Jamaican guy, he's great as well. You've got Joe Pilato as Rhodes. You've got Steele. You've got just a great cast, great movie. One of the best zombie films of all time. What can I say about Day of the Dead? And at number 1, we have the original Dawn of the Dead. Well, the zombies in this movie are not as amazing as Day, or the gore is not as realistic as Day of the Dead, but this is my all-time favourite zombie film. This film feels so epic. It just feels like this is really happening all across the world, and you got four main cast members, or actors who are maintaining them all, and you feel like they really have a lot of work cut out for them compared to the remake. By today's standards it's a little slow, but it's just a great movie. I mean, if the whole world was being destroyed by zombies, not destroyed, but overrun by zombies, I would love to go to a huge shopping mall and fight off a whole heap of bikers and everything else, and you know, hopefully not turn into a zombie. There is some footage on YouTube. Somebody made a video a long time ago that were working on this movie, and it looks like everybody had so much fun on this film. What else can I say about Dawn of the Dead that hasn't already been said? I'm trying to think of something. Oh yeah, I love all 4 cuts of this movie. Actually, there is a 3D German version which I have to buy. There's a German, a legal kind of a German cut. It's a German cut which is nearly 3 hours long. There's the director's cut, there's the theatrical cut, and then there's Dario Argento's cut. Dario Argento's Italian cut is probably the worst, but I like all cuts. Dawn of the Dead is an awesome movie. That is my number 1 choice. I hope you liked this video, because it took me 7 or 8 attempts to do it, and I'm totally exhausted. I need a beer. Boom! I'm out of here, mofo. That's it.